March 27th. On the surface, yeah, it's just another Tuesday or Wednesday. But in the world of math and big ideas, it's something special. So what's the big deal? Why is this day so important?
Well, it turns out that on this one day, scattered across the centuries, several incredible thinkers were either born or died, and each one of them left behind a crucial piece of a puzzle that we're still using today. So let's start putting the pieces of this puzzle together.
All right, our first story, it actually starts with something you probably did like an hour ago. You know that feeling, right? When Netflix or YouTube suggest a movie and you're like, whoa, how did it know? It feels kind of like magic. Well, spoiler alert, it's not magic. It's math, pure and simple.
And to find out how, we've got to go back to our special date, March 27th, 1857. This was the day our first genius, a man named Karl Pearson, was born.
And there he is, the very first dot on our March 27th timeline. This is the guy who gave us a tool to basically see the invisible connections all around us.
Pearson's big idea was something called correlation. Now, in simple terms, it's just a way to measure if two different things are actually connected. Think about it like this. Is there a real link between, say, how many hours you study and your grade on a test? Correlation is the tool that gives you a hard number to prove it. And believe me, this idea is everywhere today. That Netflix show that just popped up, that's correlation at work, matching what you watch to what millions of others watch. When scientists find a link between a lifestyle choice and your health, that's correlation too. It's the invisible engine that runs so much of our modern world.
So here's the big takeaway for Pearson. He gave us the mathematical language to find hidden patterns in what just looks like a bunch of random noise. It's an absolutely game-changing idea.
Okay, next up we've got someone who took the idea of patterns in a completely different direction. Not for predicting things, but for creating pure wonder.
We're sticking with March 27th, but we're going to jump way forward in time, and we're switching gears from data and numbers to the world of art.
I'm sure you've seen those drawings, the ones that kind of break your brain a little bit. You know, waterfalls flowing uphill, or a pattern of lizards that fits together so perfectly there are no gaps. So where does that mind-bending mix of art and logic even come from?
Well, that incredible, impossible art comes from one man, Horst Escher. And what's his connection to our story? You guessed it. He passed away on our golden date, March 27th, 1972.
So let's put him on our timeline. How crazy is that? A statistician and an artist, totally different worlds, but they're both tied to this one single day. Now, what's so cool about Escher is that he wasn't a mathematician. He was an artist who just fell head over heels in love with mathematical ideas. He got completely obsessed with something called tessellations. These are just repeating patterns that fit together perfectly with no gaps, kind of like tiles on a floor. But Escher did it with birds and fish and all sorts of amazing things. And it just goes to show you, right? Math isn't just about dry formulas. It can be a door to unbelievable creativity. He even said it himself. I came to the open gate of mathematics. I suddenly discover a new path and experience fresh delights. What a beautiful way to put it. Okay, for our last story, we're going to move from the patterns you can see to the invisible patterns that connect every single one of us.
All right, back to the timeline. We're still on March 27th, but there's one more massive idea, one final piece to our puzzle. I mean, think about it. Our whole world is just one giant network, right? You've got road networks, social networks, the internet itself. How on earth does our technology navigate this ridiculously complex web of connections so fast?
Well, a huge part of the answer takes us right back to March 27th, 1927, and the birth of a German mathematician named Horst Sachs.
So let's add him to the board, our third and final genius for March 27th. So what was his big idea?
Sachs was a master of a field called graph theory. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really simple. Basically, it's just a fancy way of studying connections. You use dots to represent things, like people or cities, and then you draw lines between them to show how they're connected. That's it. And that simple idea is the secret architecture behind your social media feed and your GPS.
So really, every single time you use your GPS to find the fastest way home, or see a friend you might know suggestion, you're looking at a map drawn with the language of math.
So, what do we have? A stats guy finding order in data, an artist bending the very rules of reality, and a theorist mapping out all our invisible connections. 3 brilliant people, one single day. But what is the real threat here? What's the deeper connection?
Pearson, Escher, and Sachs. Different times, different places, different fields. But it turns out they were all driven by the exact same curiosity. They were all asking one single, incredibly powerful question. That was it. Pearson was hunting for the patterns hidden in data. Escher was looking for the patterns hidden in shapes and space. And Sachs was mapping the patterns hidden in our connections. All three of them believed that underneath this messy, chaotic, complicated world, there was a simple, elegant structure just waiting to be found.
It was that shared obsession with finding patterns that made our world what it is today, more predictable, more beautiful, and way more connected. It just proves that no matter where you look, in data, in art, or in the world around you, there's always a pattern waiting to be discovered. Which leaves just one question. What hidden patterns are we going to find next?